Hey, Kris, welcome. 2022, the back room. Hi, everyone.
You're so excited about 2022.
I always get excited at the beginning of the year. I thought 2021 was going to be a big year, but that really proved to be what? Major disappointment.
Yeah, I know. I got really, really frustrated at the end of 21 because, like you, at the beginning of the year, I was thinking it was going to be so great, and then it wasn't, and I was just so 2022 is going to be full power ahead, I think.
Yeah. So, hi everyone, welcome to the new season of The Back Room, season 3. I can't believe it's season 3 already. I know that season 2 is only small, but it sort of makes me feel good that we've done seasons. This is Joey Busuttil.
Hi, and I'm Kris Welsh.
And we're going to continue, bringing segments and ideas and concepts and talk about men's mental health and all things mental. How was your Christmas, Kris?
Good. Really, that was really good. I did a little bit of traveling, and I've just been nonstop. Like even this morning, like getting ready for this thing today, I was like, oh, man, I need a break already. That's.
I think that's one of the things that I'm hearing a lot. Like I had 10 days off for Christmas, but I don't think you really get time off if you stay home. I think that yes, you may not work, but then you catch. I had so many things that I've had to catch up on, like domestic things, filing. So that ends up getting done. And so it was like I come back to work and I was exactly the same as you. I'm now feeling like, have we just had another year? I feel like it's the end of the year again. And I don't know if that's an age thing or if it's just the weather or if it's just COVID, but I think it could be all of it. That tiredness at the end of January.
I'm a big believer that you have to listen to what your body's telling you. So if you feel tired or sleepy or unmotivated, I'm the sort of person I'll go, you know what, I'm gonna wait until my body's rested and then I'll go back into it when I get the enthusiasm.
But what about do you think historically you've been tired in January before? Like I have never been tired in January. So I feel this is the first time that I'm noticing. Normally in January I'm really up and pumped, but I'm feeling tired this year for some reason. So I think it's got to do with the COVID, lag and the whole, I think everyone's over it and that exhausts you mentally.
Yeah, well, for me, it's been opposite because we opened up at the end of last year. I just wanted to do as many things as possible and travel and do all this stuff. And so I actually feel like things are kind of up and I feel rested, but, it's been busy, which is just because of being locked down so much last year.
Yeah.
So it's actually been good. But, yeah, it's hot, so it's a bit tiring.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's get let's get the show started.
Yeah, so it's not only did we get out of lockdown last year, but it feels like there's so many things going on at the moment, like the whole DOJOVICH situation, which I'm sure everybody around has heard. So it's really put Melbourne on the map as well, which I find really.
Melbourne's been on the map a few times, hasn't it?
Yeah, like when it comes to lockdowns,
controversies,
lockdown city in the world, and and whenever it comes to things like that with vaccines and stuff, it seems like Melbourne is really. Quite a prominent place these days.
Yeah. Don't you think that with the whole Melbourne being the most livable city is now totally gone? But I know. So what how did you feel about what he did?
Well, I don't know. I think it's interesting because it's funny because even though I see myself as someone who really believes that everyone should have choice, it's a really interesting situation because when that happened, my first feeling was they can't let him get away with not being vaccinated. And I still hold that stance because I feel like really what I'm feeling is that the people here in Melbourne have really suffered a lot in terms of not being able to see friends and family, being separated, people losing their jobs, being ostracized from families. There's a lot of stuff that's happened to people who will take that stance.
Yeah.
And
But also there's also the thing about that you were talking about before we went live, and that was I think that there is a big difference between privilege and people that follow the rules. And I think nowadays we have to do what you're saying. We can't just. I think in the past, a bit of a nudge, people would have just got away with stuff. But now, he just got to the airport and there were people there, and everything gets reported now.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like in the past, I'm sure people were like, stopped at customs, but like now, I seem like you can't do anything now. It's like I would hate to be a celebrity or someone of fame now, because if you sneeze, it's spoken about.
Well, what I really think is interesting about this, not so much about what happened to him, because he's a celebrity. He's got unlimited money. He's got one of the greatest jobs in the world. He can do what he wants. I'm not worried about what Djokovic has had to go through, to be honest. But what I think is interesting is that unwittingly, he has become this spokesperson for anti-vaccinations,
Sure.
right? And also you could say he's a bit of a because he's vegan. He doesn't have any gluten. So he does a couple of really amazing health things. So you kind of say he's someone who knows about health. So he's kind of put himself into that position of.
But do you know about the investment that he's put money into?
The investment?
Yeah, so he's invested in another medication. Multi-billion.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So I think that I listen to what you're saying, and I think that he's got a vested interest. So if he's invested in an alternative from vaccine medication, of course he's going to be an anti-vaxxer. But I don't think what he's realised, or what he has, is the way he looks so smug when he thinks there's a privilege with his. I really think that he didn't think he was going to get stopped.
Yeah, and that's what I think is also really interesting, is that not only is it telling us about who Djokovic is, okay, so you could say he's like a freedom fighter or whatever, he's now a spokesperson for anti-vaccinations or freedom, let's say. But at the same time, it's also showed us the mentality here in Melbourne, particularly in Australia, of we're very much even in the past, if you want to bring animals into Australia and stuff, it's very strict.
Yes.
Melbourne has a very strong health policy.
But that's good in ways, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's good and bad, but I think it's just interesting that it's really showing people a lot more about what Australia is, what it's like here, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not here to say.
But I know that you're not concerned about what he did or didn't. But I really do think it's good that we're showing that everyone has to be treated equally. Because when I first heard the story, I in my gut said, I bet you any money he'll play tennis. So when I saw that he was sent home, I was actually really shocked because of the fact that, but it's a lot of money that the Australian Open would have to hit the number one. But the reality is that people are realizing that money can't be the thing that can be used all the time with COVID. COVID is very serious, right? And so I like the fact that they did that because,
Yeah, think about this. Okay, so Tennis Australia was the company that granted his visa. Okay, so that's a company that is obviously focused on, we want to get the world number one here because there's a lot of money in. So that's true. That company was looking at their bottom line saying we need to bring him in.
Of course.
And then who cancelled his visa? The government. Because the government is thinking...
I know, but the thing is, but the problem was that if he didn't Instagram, this is how it all started. He wrote an Instagram bragging that he's going to Australia and he's going to break the rules.
Yeah, because
so that is in a way you wouldn't say anything if you're going to do that. So because there's a division between the vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers, so he was sort of saying, "Look, I'm coming." But the reality is that if customs let him in, see them giving him the visa, that's just giving him a visa because Tennis Australia is the company that's sponsoring him to come in, right? But the approval has to be done by customs. If they let him in, they would have looked like fools.
Yeah, exactly. But they already did. They already did have other players who were not vaccinated, and they got through on a medical exemption, same like he did. They were already playing practice tournaments.
Yeah, I know, but he had it, didn't he? He had it. So he got COVID. Then he bragged about it, and then he sort of disrespected it. And I feel that the world has to start doing. There needs to be some sort of way for people to understand that we can't continue to treat people badly because you've got money, right? And so you can't get away with stuff because that's what privilege and entitlement is that if you know that you're going to get through because I'm going to get through the back door, I'm going to get the front seat, I'm going to get whatever, that stuff is really, I think it's damaging. And I think people nowadays are getting, that's why cancel culture is really big. I was sort of think, do you think he'll get cancelled? How do you think this is going to impact him long term?
Well, I think in terms of him, I don't think it's going to impact him at all. Something will be worked out, but he'll either take this medication that'll be approved or whatever it is.
I know, but what about see, cancel culture is based on behaviour. So he's made a lot of enemies, right? A lot of people that loved him don't love him anymore, right? A lot of people that are from his country, they've risen up. So there's this thing, but cancel culture is when you do something. Normally it's sexual, so that's the thing. But it'd be interesting to see if this we start cancelling things because of attitudes and all that, because that's the thing. You can get cancelled for anything these days. Anything.
I don't think people will hate him forever.
Hope so.
This is just what happened, right? Like sports people are used to. Some people like you, some people hate you. Right? That's what happens. But I don't think he's worried about that. But I just think it's really interesting.
Oh, I think he's worried. He looked worried. He knew he made a mistake.
Yeah, possibly. But I don't think it's something that people will never forgive him for.
I know. That's the thing. That's a thing. We don't know though, because that's the thing. That's why I thought I brought it up, because we don't. I'm shocked at the amount of people that have been cancelled for nothing, and that their careers are over, right? And so it could. I'm hoping it's. I hope that he does it. I just think that it could. Normally what you'll see is, and I think that this hasn't happened, is that the sponsors start to remove themselves from that person. And that's how it starts. So, it's going to be interesting to see what rolls out. It's still too fresh because the Australian Open's still on, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get cancelled, to be honest. Okay. I think it's just that it's really shown the different perspectives in different places, because maybe in Serbia, they're much more kind of that's okay. And he probably could impact their opinion. But what I think he didn't realize is when he came here, he's like, I will be able to change. I will set a shining light example for others, right? Because there's a lot of basketballers in America who refuse to get vaccinated, but America's a lot more, all over the place.
Well, I think the difference is that it's remember, it's not about the vaccination. It's about having had it. See, he had it. And that's the problem. And then he bragged about having it. And then he said he was going to Australia. So all of those things, I think, is what he regrets. And again, I think you're right. He'll get out. He'll find a way to get out of it, because, the way that his father blamed Australia is a really good way to unravel, the cancel thing. But he still did, if we break it down really simply and forget about him, he still did the wrong thing, and he was deceiving. And so that's the thing where people are now starting to say, I'm not going to take that anymore. I'm not going to tolerate that behavior. And I think that's a good thing, because the thing is that if that was you or me, we would have been in a lot more trouble. If I wrote a TikTok or something and said, hey, I'm going to Australia, don't tell anyone I'm not, but I would have probably been sent on a plane straight away and got in trouble, got a fine, right? But all of that stuff is different from when you've got, because law cases and all that. So I heard, how many days he was in lockdown in the airport or whatever, and then they went to court. That was what, 3 days, 4 days max?
No.
3?
Oh, because he went back to quarantine a number of times. I think he was here for about 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, in the time that he was here, it was $700,000. That's how much all the court cases, and we haven't even got the proper account yet. I'm thinking, I just sat there thinking, oh my God, so much money, isn't it? Why is it so expensive just to have a tribunal meeting or to have it's a lot of money.
Well, okay, but let me make this point though. I think it's really important that shows you. Also, he got a court hearing on a Sunday. The only reason that happened is because of who he was, and they knew that if they just left him locked up and said, oh, we're not going to deal with this for a few weeks, there would be outrage, right? Because he's so loved all over the world.
Yeah.
So what I think it highlights is that it means that it's going to shine a light on the other people who are going through similar injustice in terms of, I know he could just get vaccinated and then he'd be fine, but I'm talking about people when they're in quarantine, like other people who may be refugees who can't get a visa or whatever for whatever reason.
Yes, and those refugees, and those refugees, where are they?
Yeah,
they're in
it's like everybody needs, because I remember the government was saying, we're all in this together. I wish people would actually mean it when they say that, because I hate it when they just say it, but then it's not true. Big companies making tons of money, small companies are dying.
Well, at the end of the day, I think we have to just like open up the curtain, and this shows us that. And I don't want to try and get political or all that, but I think we need to realize that behind the curtain there is different worlds for different people, and we just need to acknowledge that. Like, at the end of the day, the refugees that you're talking about, they go to real bad, terribly conditioned detention centers, right? And well, other people get, they've got the privilege and they know more people. So, that's difficult. All right, we'll be back after this break. Coming up next is Grant Shepherd from the Secret Men's Enlightenment group, and he's going to be talking about trauma and Tantra, explaining that trauma isn't Tantra and what Tantra really is and how it can help you with trauma.
Hey everybody, welcome to the back room. My name is Grant and I'm delighted to be offering this segment on Secret Men's Enlightenment. And we're going to be talking about trauma. Trauma. Tantra is not trauma. Tantra is not trauma. Despite what you might have heard through certain tantric circles. Oh yes, like trauma. Tantra is all about getting through trauma. We're very special because we've got this trauma. We've got to get through this trauma, and so we're going to work in a way that we use these tantric practices to get through this trauma, because this trauma has kept us stuck for so long, and it's so ingrained in us, and it's kept us so special, and so we're going to have to get through this trauma. Classical Tantra is not about trauma. Classical Tantra is about ecstasy. It's about samadhi. It's about merging into our true being and learning to live from that place. The trouble with the new approach to Tantra, which makes Tantra about trauma, is there's a very big danger that we then make that trauma oh so special. Oh, so attractive. Something to hold on to. This is my suffering. This is my pain. I'm going to make a small self out of that, and I'm going to cling on to that and be very special as a result. That's the opposite of what Tantra wants to do. That's the opposite of what Classical Tantra wants to do. Classical Tantra wants to free us. And it offers a whole lot of tools, a whole technology to do that. And that's why Tantra literally means technology, tools to expand consciousness. Now, does Classical Tantra say that trauma doesn't exist? Well, no. Of course trauma exists. Bullying, anxiety, depression, death, accidents, suicide. All of these are traumas. And none of us get out of life without experiencing at least some trauma, whatever that trauma might be. But what Classical Tantra says is, see the trauma, acknowledge it, own it, and then here's the very important point. Move from it. Move from the trauma. Don't hold on to it. Don't make it something special. To make it something special keeps us caught in the specialness of our trauma. So if you're doing a workshop with a teacher who is well versed in Tantra, they will help you to see and recognize where your trauma is, because through their practice, they also would have looked at where their trauma is. And then, from that place, they'll help you move forward. Because the thing is, only you can move forward from your trauma. The best teacher in the world can't help you move away from your trauma. There's only one person that can help you move from your trauma, and that's you. That's you. You have to make that decision. We have to make that decision. I would say that in order to really be a human being, we have to experience some sort of trauma. Otherwise, we're not compassionate. We don't understand. You know, if someone comes to me and says, I've been bullied, I can honestly say to them, I understand. I understand. If someone comes to me and says, I have a partner who has issues with violence, at that point I'll say, well, I haven't had that experience myself, but I've heard of others who have. And so I understand that you need help with this. How can I assist? You see, so it's about taking that trauma and owning it, looking at it, and then moving forward. Moving forward. Where to? Where do we go to when there's nothing left? When there's no more trauma? What do we go to? Well, classical Tantra says we go to our natural state of ecstasy, our natural state of joy, our natural state of connectedness. And we learn to live from that place. It's like we become a deep, beautiful ocean. And the waves on the top are the traumas. They're the traumas. But we are the ocean. We're the ocean. We don't separate from the traumas. We don't say the traumas don't exist. We don't demean the traumas. But we see the traumas for what they are. Things that come and go. Things that come and go. Things that come and go. And through the practices of classical Tantra, through things like meditation, through things like mantra, through things like self-inquiry, we start to understand that rather than the waves of trauma that come and go and that are part of our life as a human being, we understand that those waves will be there, but that we are the ocean. We're the ocean. That deep, still ocean.
Here's our first segment on mental health info, and we're going to be talking about meditation. So the first one's called Meditation 101.
Meditation is a simple practice available to all, which can reduce stress, increase calmness and clarity, and promote happiness. Learning how to meditate is straightforward, and the benefits can come quickly. Here, we offer basic tips to get you started on a path toward greater equanimity, acceptance and joy. Take a deep breath, and get ready to relax. Meditation exercises. Find a comfortable spot and get ready to relax. The basics. Setting aside time for formal meditation is an important way to establish a routine and get comfortable with the practice. Even just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Some people complain about taking time out of their day. Practice is important though. It's a tool you can use to bring yourself back to the present in stressful situations. But we shouldn't stop being mindful when we stop meditating. The purpose of mindfulness meditation is to become mindful throughout all parts of our life, so that we're awake, present and open-hearted in everything we do. Not just when we're sitting on the cushion. Mindfulness meditation isn't about letting your thoughts wander. But it isn't about trying to empty your mind, either. Instead, the practice involves paying close attention to the present moment, especially our own thoughts, emotions and sensations, whatever it is that's happening. Though meditating on your own is an essential part of a complete practice, the steady guidance of an experienced teacher can be invaluable, especially as you're getting started. Our minds wander so easily, and the clear instructions of a teacher can help bring us back to the present moment. When the mind wanders, it's inevitable. During meditation, your mind will roam. You may notice other sensations in the body, things happening around you, or just get lost in thought, daydreaming about the past or present, possibly judging yourself or others. There's nothing wrong with this. Thinking is just as natural as breathing. It's the natural conditioning of the mind to wander. When this happens, simply notice what it is you were thinking about or what was distracting you, then take a moment and pause. You don't need to pull your attention right back to the breath. Instead, let go of whatever it was you were thinking about, reopen your attention, then gently return your awareness to the breath, being present for each inhalation and exhalation. After a few breaths, invariably, the mind will wander again. Don't beat yourself up about this. It's natural. What's important is how we respond when it happens. Simply acknowledge whatever it is you were thinking of, without ascribing too much judgment to it, without letting it carry you away, and take a moment to come back to the present, and resume your meditation.
Mindfulness meditation practices. You can practice mindfulness meditation on your own anytime and anywhere. But listening to basic guided meditations can also be helpful, especially when getting started. Instructions from an experienced teacher can help remind us to come back to the present moment, let go of distracting thoughts and not be so hard on ourselves. Training the mind. Put most simply, meditation is a way to train the mind. Most of the time, our minds are wandering, we're thinking about the future, dwelling on the past, worrying, fantasizing, fretting or daydreaming. Meditation brings us back to the present moment, and gives us the tools we need to be less stressed, calmer and kinder to ourselves and others. Meditation is a training of our attention. It allows us to step out of distracted thought, and helps us arrive in the present moment in a balanced and clear way. Mindfulness vs. meditation. Though the words are sometimes used interchangeably, it's useful to draw a distinction between mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness is a quality of being, the experience of being open and aware in the present moment, without reflexive judgment, automatic criticism or mind wandering. Mindfulness meditation is the practice of actually being present in the moment, which in turn trains us to become more mindful throughout the day, particularly during difficult situations. Mindfulness meditation isn't the only way to meditate. Transcendental meditation, which aims to promote a state of relaxed awareness through the recitation of a mantra, is also popular these days. But in this guide, we're focused on mindfulness, which is increasingly popular and easy to learn. Pick a time. Just like any habit, meditation gets easier to do if it's part of your routine. Choose a time to do it each day and try to stick with it. For many people, it's easiest to meditate first thing in the morning. But whether it's at lunch, after work, or before you go to bed, see if you can be consistent. Choose a spot. Similarly, it can help to meditate in the same location each day. This isn't essential, but it can help minimize the potential for distractions and mind wandering. It's not necessary to fold your legs into lotus position or even sit on the floor. Just find a comfortable position where you can sit upright, and where you won't be too distracted. The important thing is that we're committing a little bit of time to come into stillness and simply pay attention to what's going on in our inner life. Get your gear, or don't. You don't need to spend a dime to get started. All you need is somewhere to sit, and a little willpower. That said, there are plenty of meditation cushions, stools and other accessories for those who want to get kitted out. But a comfortable chair, or a soft rug in a quiet corner, is really all you need.
So, Kris, now that we're coming to the end of January and it's a new year, I wanted to talk a little bit about setting goals. Did you know, right, that if you set a New Year's resolution, that if you haven't started to action that resolution by the 19th of January, you'll never action it?
Really? So it has to be the first step has to go quite soon.
Well, no, normally when you've got people make these lists, right? And so if you say, for example, you want to get healthy, I want to get a healthy body. If you wait till the 19th to start, you're not going to do it. So normally you have to start. There's 19 days, that's 2 weeks plus. So, and I was thinking about myself, and it's so true. Like, I start things, and then by the 19th or around then, like, the biggest one for me would be like eating chocolate. Like, I don't want to eat sweet stuff. But then, of course, Christmas and all these things come, Australia Day, all these things happen, and you get tempted. And so, if you haven't got a solid way by the 19th, you're going to break it.
Well, I think of it something like fitness, right? If you say, I want to lose weight or get fit or whatever it is, if you haven't done an action plan within a couple of weeks, obviously that's telling you that you're not really focused on it, because it's something you can do the next day.
Yes, exactly.
But other things, I've had different experiences with goal setting, that even just the idea and imagining it, it just all starts to happen, which is great. But fitness is an easy one.
Well, the fitness one is the most common one, because if you survey people, a lot of people will tell you that they've got lists of things that they wanted to do, but they haven't done it yet. And normally the fitness one is the one that most people slip up on, because it involves food, right? And, if you don't eat the right food, then you're not motivated and all that. But, I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to talk about what's your process for setting up goals? How do you actually set them out for yourself?
I have a big whiteboard in my kind of living room area space, or my desk area, and I just write stuff down. I have like long-term goals, short-term goals, targets I can put along the top.
So is that it's your whiteboard is like a bit like a to-do list sort of thing, and you can see, do you rub them off, or do you cross them off when you finish?
Yeah, the short ones I cross off, like once I've done them, or something that, like you were saying about the changing your diet. If you've said, I want to lose weight this year, and 20 days goes past and you haven't done anything, then that means you're not serious about it. So I have short-term goals. If I'm not going to do it, then I'll just rub it off.
Yes.
So I can kind of tell straight away. But other ones, you can't really control. Like I might say, I want to get to a certain subscriber count, but that's like, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
You just got to put it there.
Well, the goal shouldn't be the subscriber count. The goal for that should be, I'm going to really work harder to understand YouTube, right? And then that sort of like becomes the goal, because if you say you want a subscriber count, you can't control that, but you can control what you know. I mean, that's why I think it's important to be specific about your goal, rather than being, I think sometimes people saying I want to be fitter is very ambiguous, isn't it?
Of course, yeah, but you could say something that's quite accurate. But that's a really interesting point. When I was 17, believe it or not, in high school, we had this guy come into our school, and let's say the whole year 11 and 12, it's pretty stressful for kids. But he taught us that in order to reach your goal, because he was trying to teach us how to get the enter score that we wanted, he said, you write it on your wall and you look at it every day. You don't know how you're going to get it, but you write it there, and it's there for you to see, because it imprints it in the mind. And I think even with things that are out of your control, you can still.
So that's like the law of attraction. So it's interesting, because I'm running a workshop tomorrow actually on creating your vision. And when we say, like you and I are talking, we use one part of our brain which is all about logistical things, like I got to do this, got to do that. But then the other side of the brain is more about the creativity and the tangible stuff. So your board is like I can have a picture of a car on my fridge, or I can have a vision board, and that is a representation of the other side of the brain, and you don't know how you're going to get it. And I've got a really good story like that. Like, I remember putting a car on my wall, on my vision board, and I had a pair of sunglasses, and I took the glasses out and I had the case. And so randomly I would just put money into the sunglasses case, right? And then one day I found myself buying a brand new car. And so it was really quite an amazing experience that I got this car based on what I saw on the fridge, right? So, and I really don't know how I did it. I just put money into a thing. But all of those steps, that's what the law of attraction is. The law of attraction doesn't really involve much of you doing anything physically. It just involves you being very clear specifically with what you want. Well, what we're talking about as well now can have elements of that, but really goal setting is really about, making sure that you have those steps in there, because some goals are big, right? And so some people want to get fit, but really the first step should be, I'm going to call a gym, right? Yeah. I'm going to look at my calendar and see when I can go to the gym. So that's the problem. I think some people just go to the result. They forget about the steps, and then when they fail, of course they're going to fail because they didn't really have much structure. And as you and I know, when we do this sort of work, for example, a lot of people say to me, wow, it looks so easy. You and Kris look so easy and relaxed. But the reality is that no one knows what's going on in the back end, all the steps that we've taken to record things and all that. So,
yeah, but I do think though, for me anyway, it's about creating the vision, whatever it is. Like creating this studio, I just don't even know why I started it. I was just like, I'm going to make a studio. That'd be good. And then all those steps came naturally. I didn't have to say.
But not everyone can do that. That's the point.
Right. Everyone has their style, but
because that's more ad hoc. Where the majority of the world, unfortunately, when we look at statistics about the 19-day thing, it's something like 80% of people do not succeed with their resolutions. And so when they want help, when they come and see me or you as a coach or something, they sometimes they look at the SMART model, right? And the SMART model has been around for a long time, and it really, because I really do believe that if you don't have a why, like you said earlier. If you don't have a why, then there's going to be no reason to do it. So the why, I think, is the most important thing. Is like, why do I want to lose weight? What's most specific about that? Because if you get tempted to sleep in or not to go, then that means sleeping in is more important.
Yeah, and that's right. And that's exactly why. And I actually, Michael Beckwith, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was on The Secret film. He talks about that in terms of having the vision, and the vision. What I was saying about me is that the steps do come. It's just that vision really does pull you along, and that is the why.
Yes, exactly. That's what that is.
Because then you've got that thing there. It may not be a written why, but you're so drawn to it.
Sure. Because the studio that you've created is, if you didn't want to do anything online, you wouldn't have that vision. So you wouldn't have built it. So it really does. I'm the same as you. But I'm really good at. Like, I love apps. Like, there's so many apps now to do all of this. Like, and it's so easy. Like, there's a vision board app. So, rather than cutting pictures out and putting them on there, I've got this app. And so every 2 hours, the picture gets popped up on my screen. And it just randomly just goes into my subconscious. And that's the thing I love.
That's a good tool, I think. Yeah, because that's something that you don't have to think about. It really grabs your attention.
Yeah,
and bang, it's in
and people need to realize that that's what happens with advertising, right? We're being subconsciously told that we want to buy a Coke, but if you use that method, like you're saying, and have it as a vision in our day-to-day life, because I think that everyone can achieve the things that they want, but they've got to want it and believe it, and they've got to visualize it. That's the thing.
Believing it is the hard bit.
Can you? I was going to say, tell me one thing that you feel was an amazing goal that you achieved. What's one of the goals that you think is one of the proudest or happiest goals that you've made happen?
Well, I think there's been a lot of them. It's hard to be specific, but I think recently, like being able to go from someone who felt, restricted by having to do a 9 to 5 or whatever, always having to work to bring in money, that sort of thing, to be able to have my own income from being myself is
right.
Important.
Yeah,
like, that's a big thing.
And you can see the different steps that you had to put in place to get that to happen.
Well, I think for me, I really had to start to realize, and in fact, you were helping me with this in terms of starting to kind of rely on my face or my voice or whatever it is to be the tool that makes me money, rather than, if you work a job, you feel like, well, I'm there to do what they're telling me to do. Whereas when you can work for yourself, you're like, people are seeing me, people want me because I'm being me.
Yes.
And for me, that's a huge step.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and I still look back and think, how did I achieve this? Like, I made a decision that I wanted to go overseas for 3 months over 3 years.
Yeah.
So 3 months, come back and work 3 months. And so that's not normal. I had to ask my boss for 3 months, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how when you believe something and you have a why, how things fall into place, because I achieved that. I got, I was able to communicate. I was able to set things up so that my job could be done overseas. I had my itineraries all done. I traveled the whole world. I didn't pay for accommodation once. I stayed with people all around the world. So all of that took so much time. But when you have a goal and you have the why, it's not work.
And this is one thing I want to say about goal setting, right? Sometimes, if you have like steps, right? If you have so much detail that, let's say the first step didn't work, the rest of those steps are useless, kind of. And I have a story from years ago when similar thing, I wanted to go overseas, but I was going overseas to teach English, which I loved. It was really interesting. But at the time I was working for NAB, right? And it wasn't the sort of job I should be in because I'm sitting there on the phone the whole time and I hated it. It was a lot of pressure and stress. And I got really inspired to do this and I just quit. I was just like, I've got to go overseas, and I just quit. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then coincidentally, a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later, I got a call from this guy who I'd done a job for years ago doing some filming. And he said, can you do this filming job, which was like 2 days a week for a couple of hours, and that's all, for the next 8 weeks. Can you do that for me? And I was like, that is the perfect thing that I needed to get ready. Because I needed time I had to go study TESOL and organize everything. I couldn't be working full time. So he gave me this job, just completely came out of nowhere, that was perfect for me to be able to take that next step. Now, if I had planned that totally, I would have been like, oh, no, but it's got to be, I need this. And then I feel like I've failed because it hasn't come out the way I expected it to. So sometimes I think it's good to just have the big idea.
But you're just describing reflection. But the reality is that what you described I think, is intuitive luck, right? Your energy got that. But, we have to make sure that the audience understands the difference between that, because I think you and I have had lots of that compared to planning and goal setting. Like, I wanted to go overseas and everything, like it was easy to meet these people that gave me free accommodation, but I still had to sit down and actually go on, this computer and actually try and find them. I was just lucky that everyone I found said yes, right? And so it is, because like when you then surrender to that, then things will happen on its own. You're right. Right? But I think that you can't depend on that all the time, because otherwise, imagine if I wanted to go overseas and I didn't plan to save money, right? And I was waiting for some miracle to come, that I wouldn't have gone. But I worked harder than ever because I worked 2 jobs to get the money so I can have 3 months off. I took 9 months off.
Yeah.
Right. So all of that. So it really is about people realizing that you can have an idea and it will happen if you believe it, but you also have to, do some work.
Of course, I'm not saying don't do anything. It's just that what I'm saying is that sometimes you need opportunities.
Sure.
And I had said, I'm going to go overseas, but I just, without thinking, I just quit my job. And then afterwards, I'm like, maybe I made a mistake.
But a lot of people don't do that, right? A lot of people don't quit. A lot of people are stuck. And so those people, I think, may need to have goal settings so they because a lot of people are scared. Like most people are scared, right? Yeah. Again, I think you and I have to realize that how lucky we are that we've got, we live in a very small minority of people that actually have done the things that other people want to do. A lot of people want to quit their jobs, but they don't. They don't adapt very well. Well, we've been adaptable. You quit, bang, and then you adapted really quick. A lot of people I don't know, maybe I'm basing it on clients, but a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people stay in miserable jobs and they don't do the things that they want to do.
That's always a choice, and I'm not saying whether or not.
I know, but we're talking about goal setting.
No, I know, but I mean that's fine. I'm just trying to put my little spin on it. I understand, but like
I know.
I was just going to say that, always we have to kind of give our best and work towards goals. And I did lots of planning. I'm always planning and doing stuff, but I just find it interesting that sometimes I'll be like, I need this to happen for me.
And it happens.
And that positive feeling and working towards it, not just sitting back going, well, if it doesn't work out, that's not my fault. You have to put everything into it. But I'm just saying that the things can kind of change when you have that feeling like it's going to work out.
Yeah. Hey everyone, coming up next is learning how work-life balance can help you with your mental health and your health in general. So I hope you enjoy this segment. So we thought that we may introduce a really simple 5-minute meditation into our back room. So Coming up next is just a really simple meditation. Now, if you don't want to do it now, you can just fast forward to the next segment, or you can just lay back and enjoy. Don't forget, you can always use that meditation anytime, and it'll be uploaded separately to the SMB TV channel. Namaste, everyone. Breathe and let go. Hello, and welcome to Meditation Space. In today's meditation, we're just going to do a simple Vipassana silent meditation. And in this time, all we're going to do is just going to get you to listen to the music and focus on the breath. So get comfortable and find a place for you to go to that place now. Deep breath. And now that you've allowed yourself to connect with your inner self, just enjoy the rest of the day. A day that is filled with what you want as you leave in this harmony, in this peaceful place. Namaste.
Interesting. That was a great show today, Joe. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, everybody. See you later.
Bye, Kris. And everybody have a great month, and we'll see you again next month. This is Joey saying goodbye from the back room.